Welcome to Lesson 3 in Effective Communication. This is the final lesson of Building Effective Communication. After you complete this lesson, continue onto the Building Military Family Connection website to find more classes on budgeting and devotion to spouse. Take this time with your spouse or yourself to reflect on what you have learned so far. Did you continue practicing mindful meditation? Have you noticed bids are easier to see and taken time to respond to them? How did your active, reflective, and compassionate listening practices go this week? What did you see? Remember, all these practices are not done in 1 week, but continue through your journey of your relationship to build your emotional resilience for when challenges arrive. We'll first start off by learning about the transactional model of communication.
In a previous video, I talked about Shannon and Weaver's basic model of communication that involves a sender with a message that's sent along a channel to a receiver. This is a very one-way or linear model of communication. It works pretty well for explaining information technology, but it doesn't capture the face-to-face dynamics that most of us experience and feel. So several years later, some other researchers like Paul Waltzewick and his colleagues, as well as Barlund, came up with what we now call the transactional model of communication. And that's the one we're going to unpack in this video. So let's get into the details. Hello again, friends. I'm Alex Lyon. If we haven't met yet, this channel, Communication Coach, is here to help you increase your personal impact so you can lead the people around you to higher levels of excellence. And a huge part of that is becoming a little more educated on the communication process. Probably one of the most helpful models of communication to understand face-to-face interaction is the transactional model or the transactional approach to communication. So let's dig into that. First, I want to talk about how this differs a little bit with Shannon and Weaver. In the Shannon and Weaver one-way linear model, you have a sender and a receiver. But in the transactional approach, the researchers that developed this say that we are both simultaneously senders and receivers. That means that we're always giving each other feedback, both verbal and nonverbal. And so in that way, we're always sending messages. Paul Waltzewick used the phrase, you cannot not communicate, which is another way to say you're always sending and receiving messages, whether you realize it or not. So let's say somebody is giving you the silent treatment and they're deliberately trying not to verbally communicate. You're still getting a message. It may not be easy to determine exactly what that message is, but there's still messages going back and forth. So you're always communicating. You cannot not communicate. Another aspect that this model brings into the situation is the context. So anytime you're interacting with someone, it's not isolated and pure. You're in a context, let's say you're in a work setting, and that work setting shapes the way you send and receive messages. Another aspect of this is what we call the field of experience. I come into a situation and you come into a situation with a whole set of life experiences, values, and beliefs, and that's going to shape how we send and receive and interpret the messages that we are exchanging. So that's a really interesting aspect of this that the other linear Shannon and Weaver model does not capture. Another aspect of this is the notion that in any kind of interaction, we have both content that's being exchanged, like information, and we also have relational dynamics that are being built and established and reinforced. So even if I'm just saying to my wife, hey, how was work today? And she says, oh, it was okay. Now there's information that's going back and forth, but there's relational work happening at the same time. And in fact, a very simple example like that, how was work today? Oh, it was okay. There's a lot going on there because you can read the other person's nonverbal and there's feedback going on. You can hear tone of voice and you can read into what's happening. And in fact, you probably know this from personal experience. Someone says, oh, it's okay today. It depends how they said it, not just the information or the content. There's that relational dynamic. So this model through and through is much more sophisticated and layered. In that earlier video on the Shannon and Weaver model, I talked about how the model is simple, but people are complicated. And in this transactional model, the researchers came along and rounded out their notion of how communication happens face to face and came up with a model that's much more sophisticated and layered to help make sense of that human interaction and that dynamic that we experience day to day.
Here's just another image to kind of go over that model again of transactional communication and how transactional communication can be effective. Like, how can we use it effectively and ineffectively in marriages? There's different areas that it would be good and where it wouldn't. Or is it better suited for work? We will now review the 7 C's in effective communication. We have to also keep in mind these essential tips for effective communication: active listening, speak clearly, be empathetic, use nonverbal cues, ask questions, be patient, provide feedback. These essential tips sound a lot like active, reflective, and compassionate listening that we focused on last week. Effective communication starts with listening. When we are the speaker and trying to get our communication across, it is important to remember to use completeness, provide all facts required, conciseness, don't use unnecessary words or repetition, make our messages brief, consideration, step into the shoes of other people and how you approach them, um, clarity, use simple language and focus on specific goals at a time, or one specific goal at a time. Um, Concreteness, use clear facts, figures, and data rather than vague generalizations. Courtesy, be polite, respectful, enthusiastic, show genuine concern. Correctness, use proper grammar, spelling, and accurate information. Try not to have to repeat yourself multiple times because you gave the wrong information. Using the 7 C's of effective communication, we can create relationships, form intercultural alliances, shape self concept, and engage with others in dialogue to create communities. So, for our practice with this one, with your spouse or partner, you're going to take 3 minutes to explain a moment where you were bidding for attention that wasn't responded to. Use the 7 C's of effective communication to get across your information. The listener will then use reflective, compassionate, and active listening techniques that we practiced last week and respond, and then you will switch. So please pause the video and take that time now. For those that are deployed or spouses that are not with them, you can still use the 7 C's of communication when speaking with your coworkers, your COs, and others. You can create better communication of orders and drills through more effective communication. When you're emailing your spouse, you can use effective communication to not just vent to each other about what's going on, but really to work through what you're feeling and your struggles with better information without making them feel guilty that they're not there to help. When we're solo parenting, using effective communication with our kids can help them understand what we would like them to do. And it's also a way to teach them the importance of using effective communication when we are discussing. So, effective communication in marriage. Putting it all together. As we put all of this together, we use active listening, empathy, consistency, and open dialogue to create effective communication. Building effective communication in marriage requires this practice to be consistent. Taking time not only during this class, but throughout your relationship builds stronger bonds, trust, and strength. Military One Source is a great resource to revert back to when you are working on building communication as a couple, and I highly recommend going to this website and reviewing it, especially in your time in the military. What can happen if we don't have effective communication in marriage? We learned that communication gets blocked and pressure gets built up. This changes when words start flowing again. They tend to come out suddenly in a damaged, raging flood. Many marriage couples struggle with healthy communication, especially about important issues. It's common for couples to avoid difficult conversations. An important point to share trickles of information back and forth about who's going where, when, or who's going to pick up the kids without ever diving into the conversations that are actually most important to them. Over time, this situation operates as a force. The lack of the full communication flows dries up the passion and love between them. So if we do not have this effective communication and we're only talking about the easy things, our marriages can start to crumble. One way for families to continue growing this effective communication practice is to have family councils each week. Taking time for these weekly meetings to connect, serve, and practice active listening can not only shape a marriage in trust and connection, but build family connections, trust, love, and communication. Family councils are full of open communication, respect, active listening, compassion, compromise, and all coming together in unity. I believe that there are at least 4 types of family councils, and this is all coming from Lee Tom Perry. And he states, first, a general family council consists of the entire family. He explains that the family council meeting is an ideal setting to teach children how to prepare for their roles as family members and prospective parents. In family councils, he says mothers and fathers can provide training in such topics as preparation, home management, finances, career development, education, communication, community involvement, cultural improvement, personal care of personal property, family planning, leisure time, and work assignments. That he also suggests that before family members come together to discuss this matter as a councils, parents could profit by holding a family executive committee meeting to plan family strategy. The executive committee, composed of a husband and a wife or spouse couple, would meet together to fully communicate, discuss, plan, and prepare for their leadership role in the family organization. So, second, an executive family council consisting of mother and father or marriage spouse. So, the exploration and executive council is the spousal unit coming together to discuss personal needs, family needs, schedule, finances, and conflicts. A limited family council consists of parents and one child. This is formal or informal about decision making, and current struggles. Fourth is a one-on-one family council consisting of one parent and one child. These generally just happen, promote connection and emotional bonding. Creating space for these creates a special time alone with mom or dad. So, this practice that we're going to do is you're going to spend the next 10 minutes or more if you need it and have an executive marriage council. Talk about the needs of each other for the week, how best you can serve each other, your schedule, your activities, your goals, your finances, your children, any conflicts that you feel comfortable sharing, and practice using the 7 C's of communication as well as active, reflective, and compassionate listening as you counsel. Also, in your discussion, plan on when your next executive family council and your full family council will take place. Take this time, pause this video, take the time, and have this council now. How did your council go? How did you feel during, before, after? Were you able to communicate? Were you able to create a plan? Were you able to connect? Take this time, and here is a family council cheat sheet to just review over what is the different types of council and how you can meet. It talks about how meeting weekly for a full family council and executive family council, meeting monthly for a limited family council and a one-on-one family council. Be mindful and use your effective communication skills as you are in these councils. This handout can be hard to see in this video, but it can be accessed on the website for easier reading. And make sure that you are taking time out of our schedules to create this new sense of normal in our families. This can happen even when spouses are deployed or gone. To be able to have this regular family council can bring that sense of normal to our family, to our kids, to ourselves, that they will know that something will stay the same. Thank you for watching these videos and for spending the time growing an effective communication in your family. Please visit Building Military Family Connections website for more classes and to review each one of these lessons as you go on. Thank you.